What's up everyone, and welcome back to the Bold and the Beautiful 24 official channel. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button today. Let's get started. Thomas and Paris break up, Luna not pregnant. The Bold and the Beautiful indicates that Thomas Forrester and Paris Buckingham's breakup was revealed while Sheila Sharp's bear attack inspired Luna Nozawa. At Forrester Creations, Thomas showed Ridge Forrester a post-rescue pic of his dad with Brooke Logan and wondered if he really had to kiss her. Thomas wanted reassurance that Ridge wouldn't hurt Taylor Hayes again and confessed how much he needed this reunion too since his life was a mess. Thomas and Paris' engagement had been called off, so he said she really hurt him and then complained about her whole family's deception. Since Thomas didn't have a particular fashion line he was designing for, he didn't have much of a purpose in his career either. Thomas whined about always ending up alone and suggested he couldn't handle Ridge blowing things with Taylor, too. Ridge became concerned about the possibility of his son backsliding since Thomas seemed so desperate. Thomas kept the focus on how much he needed his family as he pleaded with tears in his eyes. In the design office on Wednesday's B&B episode, Brooke gave Katie Logan updates on Thomas's return to town and how that further complicated the situation with Ridge. Ridge was putting off his inevitable reunion with Brooke, so Katie insisted that he end things with Taylor immediately. At the hospital, Taylor saw Lee Finnegan walking by her office and stopped her for a conversation. Lee didn't go to any deep places regarding Luna despite Taylor's attempt to get her to open up. The discussion eventually shifted to Thomas's LA comeback, so Lee talked to Taylor about his past difficulties and hoped nothing would trigger more issues. At Lee's place, Luna was annoyed over her negative pregnancy test outcome and hid the stick when Sheila appeared. After Luna expressed how eager she was for Will Spencer to find out she was alive, Sheila tried to lower her expectations. If Sheila could survive a bear attack, Luna acted like her own comeback would be reasonable. Sheila reminded Luna that her bear attack was fake. Fake it, yeah, that could work. As inspiration struck, Luna mumbled to herself about fake outcomes. It was obvious that Luna was forming a backup plan involving some fake pregnancy test results to dupe Will. Luna suggested the great thing about people like them was that they could make anything happen when they were backed into a corner. That said, Luna did allow for the possibility that she'd perhaps taken the test too soon once she was alone. Regardless, Luna declared that she wasn't wishing and praying for a future with Will, she was making it happen. The Bold and the Beautiful say Luna will continue to adjust her plans along the way, but troubling news is ahead for Will no matter what. Thomas and Paris for reasons that will leave you going, huh? At least the breakup that Bold and Beautiful gave Thomas and Paris made as little sense as their hookup. In the September 3rd episode, the designer disclosed that he had called off his engagement to the second of the Buckingham sisters with whom he'd been involved because, as he put it, she really hurt me the whole family after what they did. Except that Paris didn't allow the Forresters to believe that Liam was dying, her mother Grace did, and even then, only to protect her daughters from ex-husband Reese's cronies. As a result, putting Paris at fault for Grace's mistake would be analogous to holding Ridge accountable for Thomas's pretended desire to wed Zoe in order to coerce Hope into getting married. Why should Thomas and Paris have broken up? On the flip side, the show could have had Thomas and Paris split up even if it was off-screen, which is never the most exciting option, and at least make it logical. Dramatic, even. Thomas could have learned that Hope was engaged to Carter, realized that she was finally ready to marry, given Paris the heave-ho, and rushed back to Los Angeles to suggest that his ex choose him over her fiancé as her groom. Instead, oddly, Bold and Beautiful used Grace's crime to stick a fork in Paris and Thomas out a nowhere engagement. Your thoughts on the twist? Drop them in a comment. Thomas Forrester had always embodied a man whose passions burned like fire within him, yet on this particular afternoon at Forrester Creations, that fire had dwindled to mere smoke, a remnant of shattered dreams and escalating frustrations. He stood before his father, Ridge Forrester, gripping a cell phone that displayed the image of Ridge kissing Brooke Logan during that fateful rescue in Italy, a moment Thomas could not erase from his memory, no matter how fervently he wished to forget it. As he asked through clenched teeth whether Ridge truly had to kiss her, his voice transformed into something more vulnerable, the desperate plea of a son who had witnessed his parents collide and separate like waves crashing against jagged rocks. Now, Thomas was filled with dread that Ridge was on the verge of betraying Taylor Hayes once more, betraying not only her but also him, for Thomas desperately needed this reunion, as vital as oxygen, since his own life had unraveled in unforeseen ways. His engagement to Paris Buckingham had ended abruptly, a cruel twist that left him not only heartbroken but also humiliated. As he vented to Ridge, he confessed that Paris had caused him profound pain, and with the bitterness of a man still wounded, He dragged her entire family into the discussion, lamenting the deceptions of Grace Buckingham and her misguided efforts to protect her daughters from her ex-husband's criminal connections. Although the rationale for blaming Paris for Grace's transgressions was flimsy at best, Thomas clung to it, as it was simpler to portray Paris as part of a cycle of betrayal than to confront the reality that his own choices in love had once again led him to despair. Now, without Paris by his side and without a fashion line to channel his energy into, Thomas admitted he felt lost, aimless, a designer lacking direction, man adrift, lamenting his perpetual solitude, expressed that if Ridge were to shatter this delicate hope of marriage with Taylor, if he were to ruin this final opportunity for family cohesion, Thomas doubted his ability to cope. Tears welled in his eyes as he implored Ridge, not merely as a son but as a fractured individual yearning for stability in his life. Ridge, despite being hardened by years of indecision between two women, could not disregard the gravity of his son's despair, nor could he overlook the warning signs evident in Thomas's actions, which hinted at a precarious return to old habits of obsession and manipulation. Nevertheless, as Ridge grappled with his concern, Thomas persisted, asserting his need for a complete family, for his parents to be united. This time, it transcended mere romantic fate. It was a matter of survival, of preventing his own disintegration. Meanwhile, in the design office, Brooke Logan was conveying a starkly contrasting narrative to her sister Katie regarding Thomas's reappearance and the challenges it posed for her anticipated reconciliation with Ridge. Katie, ever the pragmatist and fiercely protective of her sister, urged Brooke to seek closure immediately, to demand that Ridge terminate his relationship with Taylor without delay, rather than prolonging the situation. However, Brooke, embodying that familiar mix of patience and entitlement that had characterized her for years, smirked, asserting that Ridge's heart would inevitably return to her, regardless of the time it took. In contrast, Katie, growing increasingly impatient, expressed her outrage at the mere notion of Ridge remaining with Taylor any longer, insisting that he must leave her at once, right now, this very moment. Yet, Brooke warned that Thomas's emotional manipulations could complicate matters further, though Brooke was unaware that Thomas's delicate mental state was not merely a complication but a volatile situation, and if Ridge made an erroneous decision, the repercussions would resonate throughout the Forrester family. At the hospital, Taylor Hayes happened to notice Lee Finnegan walking by her office and invited her in for a discussion, gently inquiring about Luna Nozawa and Lee's absence, although Lee remained vague, dismissing Luna as a troubled adolescent and refusing to reveal the extent of her secret, before the conversation shifted to Thomas's return, and Taylor, beaming with pride, praised his hard work and development, his victories over past demons, only for Lee to raise a cautious eyebrow and remind her that Thomas had a history, that sometimes it only took one disappointment, one betrayal, to unravel years of progress, leaving Taylor feeling uneasy despite her reassurances that she would support her son no matter what. Meanwhile, in the dimly lit corners of Lee's home, Luna paced anxiously, clutching a pregnancy test that read negative, her irritation palpable as she concealed the stick when Sheila Sharp entered, and although one might anticipate relief from a young woman in her situation, Luna instead became restless, murmuring about her eagerness for Will Spencer to discover she was alive, yearning for the excitement of the revelation and the twisted fantasy of a future with him, and Sheila, weary from battles and partially reformed, attempted to temper her granddaughter's expectations, highlighting the absurdity of such dreams, only for Luna to scoff that if Sheila could endure a bear attack, surely her own comeback would be equally plausible, but Sheila, with a dark laugh, reminded her that her so-called bear attack was fabricated, a concoction of blood, claws, and screams intended to manipulate everyone into believing she was dead, and instead of deterring Luna, the admission ignited something sinister within her, the words fake it effortlessly escaping her lips as inspiration surged, her thoughts racing with the concept of falsifying pregnancy test results to deceive Will, a scheme that echoed Sheila's style of deceit so accurately it was unsettling. Despite Sheila's caution to proceed with care, Luna welcomed the idea, asserting that the remarkable aspect of individuals like them was their ability to create any outcome when cornered. Once she was alone, she murmured to herself that perhaps she had tested too soon, perhaps the result was not reliable. Regardless of whether reality matched her desires, she refused to wait for fate to shape her future. She was determined to forge it herself, her smirk reflecting Sheila's from her younger years, a perilous vow that Will's life was on the brink of chaos, whether he wished it or not. Consequently, the narrative of the bold and the beautiful tightened, with Thomas buckling under the burden of heartbreak and paternal disappointment, Ridge caught in a conflict of guilt and longing, Brooke and Katie forcefully pushing fate like a battering ram, Taylor holding on to fragile hope, Lee harboring secrets that could shatter her family, and Luna evolving from a troubled granddaughter into a full-fledged inheritor of Sheila's dark legacy. The strands of family, betrayal, obsession, and deceit intertwined until no one in Los Angeles could evade the repercussions. Although viewers might ridicule the irrational breakup of Thomas and Paris, attributing blame to Paris for Grace's transgressions, the reality was that the turmoil of these decisions was not intended to be perfectly logical. It was designed to open the hearts of these characters and propel them into the next tempest. In the realm of the Forresters, Logans, Buckinghams, and Finnegans, logic was a luxury, but drama was fate, and fate, whether embraced in Italy or fabricated through a pregnancy test, was always poised to strike once more.